I don't know if you're aware, but Finland just elected its first female prime minister, who is the youngest prime minister in the world, 34 years old, woman. And 4 out of 5, I think it is, of their major political parties led by women, all in their 30s. Wow. Very interesting. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to listen to her, but my experience is that she's not this super authoritarian, hyper-scheduled, hyper-aggressive person. She's what I just said. She's flexible, supple, flowing, responsive to the moment, warm, compassionate, strong, creative. You see, this energy of the divine feminine, it's rising today. And it's a very different energy than what we're used to seeing today. Now, we don't want it to, of course, women embody it wonderfully, but we don't want it to be just in half the population, right? We want it to be birthed in everyone. I was looking at our Facebook page, scrolling way down to the bottom, with the oldest quotes that we have, and one of them that I came across said, "You can't control everything. Sometimes you just need to relax and have faith that things will work out. Let go a little and just let life happen." You know, this energy of the divine masculine, it's almost this sort of fighting, striving, aggressing energy that we've had for so long that when something comes up that we don't like, we're going to fight it and win. You know, there might be other approaches that we could take. And so we should start to trust this flow of the divine feminine, because as I say, it's a very, very different energy. Now sometimes I think even here, both genders sort of get into that aggressive, assertive energy, and we need to remind ourselves we can come back to that observant, flexible, flowing, dynamic state of consciousness. Now this is a compliment, of course, to the masculine. I'm not saying get rid of the masculine. I'm saying put both together and learn to embrace them. And what happens as we do this is, guess what? We return back to that natural state of joy again. We start to balance ourselves and live in that state. I think one of the problems that we have is we just get ourselves into so much trouble in our culture. And oftentimes we don't know how we got there. We don't know how to get out, and sometimes we don't even know that we're there. I put something on my Facebook page recently that was just talking about, you know, a society that is collapsing and what's happening. And so we have to become aware of what's happening before we can make that change. Now, one of the most amazing things that occurs as we adopt this energy is we kind of start to become spontaneous again. I love this talk because it's spontaneous. I'm just flowing. And so one of the ways we return back to that divine feminine is to enter that spontaneous energy. I look at my son Simon and I think, perfect example of spontaneity. I look at him on the floor and he's surrounded by his toys. And he just picks one up and he's playing with it, and just a few seconds later he spontaneously goes to the next one, and it brings him just as much joy as this one. And I was watching him the other day and I got so worn out that I just sort of laid down and I just closed my eyes, and he looks over at me and he goes, "Oh, it's the wake up dad game." Crawled across the floor and he's, put his hands on my eye, ow, and he's pulling my ear and doing my nose. And then he spontaneously looked, and I ended up kind of covering my face as I'm having this occur, and he spontaneously says, "Oh, there's Dad, and I'm going to use him as a step stool to practice standing." And so he spontaneously does that, and I look up at this little baby face looking down at me, and he goes from there and he says, "Oh, a water bottle," and it's orange, and he goes for the water bottle, and then he sees this book, and he knocks the book. He's just totally spontaneous all the time and flowing. And what's so cool is, he gets so into that underneath it all is this energy of peace and relaxation. He's not tense about it. And the final payoff is, guess what? He's joyful underneath all of it. He's flowing and he's joyful. This is such a teaching for every single one of us. So I kind of invite you to start surrounding yourself with your toys and your joys, as I call them. Your toys and your joys, your magazines, your food, your music, your friends. Get together with your friends every few weeks and start to get that spontaneous energy flow in your life. Let the things fall down around you. And try not to, not really. But try not to, schedule every single thing in your life. See if you can get into that flow and work with things falling down. Divine Feminine. One of the times that I was most happy in my life was a time when I was flowing like this. And I think about that and I say, all the times in my life when I was filled with the most joy, I was in that divine flow. I truly was. And this time that I'm thinking of was college. And it's very interesting that I look at it and it was so balanced. Every single class I had was laid out for the whole 4 years, and I did it and passed and got the degree. There's some structure and some masculine kind of focus going on there. So, I would go to class and I would learn and I would be in that sort of divine flow as I was in the masculine. I would come back home, I would do my homework, I would eat, I would usually exercise. And then after that, so I had done all my structured things in quite a flowing way. And then after that, I just had free time in the evening. And man, the experiences that came from just opening and being in that flow, really listening moment to moment how Spirit was guiding me, totally changed my life. I'm here today because of that. The very first time I meditated, it was a spontaneous experience where I said, I don't know what meditation is, but I'm just going to go over to this place over here. I feel spontaneously called, and the energy of God descended into my heart and lit up my whole body with divine bliss. And I said, I think I'll take some more of that. And I started from there. It was spontaneous one day that I sat down and I had this vision to become a unity minister. It just happened. And I said, my goodness, here we go. If I hadn't allowed that flow and that space to occur, I wouldn't be here today. I met, I think, 2 or 3 of my best friends spontaneously just walking around in those hours after my studies. Amazing. This energy literally lit up my life. It was so powerful, so powerful. Now, it sometimes makes me sad, and I remember at that time to look around and see so many people driven, not experiencing that magic that God is saying to us in each and every moment, not being receptive and supple and flowing with that. I think in many ways that's why our current society is the way it is. Now, if we step back, the most amazing aspect of all of this is that those things that we started with, the structure, the discipline, as we step into the divine feminine, they become natural. They just become natural. The structure naturally happens. The focus and the discipline naturally occur. We have a couple congregants who they've gone camping a number of times, and one of those times they were on this trail and they said, let's just cook some food and offer it to some people that are along this trail. They look like they're hungry. It happened to be the PCT trail, if you know that. And so they came along and they said, thanks, man, this is great. And the word started passing down the trail that, hey, there's some people down here that are cooking some great food. Stop on in. And it was amazing because as they did this, the sort of connections they made were awesome. They were fantastic. They started to connect and become friends with these individuals, and the stories that they heard and the joy that sort of resulted as that connection was made. You can only imagine being out on a trail that long and finally getting a hot meal and somebody to connect with like that. The sort of energy that brought. They said, you know what? Let's just make this a tradition. Let's just do it every year. And so they went out and they continued to spread that joy. Now that joy began by a spontaneous feeling. Let's cook some food and offer it to these people. And they responded to that. Now if you take that little idea, little story, and stretch it out to your life and stretch it out to our planet, businesses have started this way and become amazingly successful. Careers have started this way and become amazingly successful. Why? Because we're in that flow again. We're listening to that divine feminine energy that wants to move through us. So what I invite you to do this week and this month is just to tap into some of this energy. Practice moment-to-moment relaxation. Check in with your body and see, where am I tense? Breathe into that. Hold it and release it. And do it moment to moment. It's a very efficient way of working because you don't have to schedule any time to do it. You're doing it every moment. Let go of that little bit of drama that you may have that says, I gotta push, I gotta strive, I gotta do this. Start to surround yourself with all those toys and all those joys and start to flow a little bit more like water through your life. And listen to that divine feminine energy and see if you can bring those two forces back in balance within you and become more spontaneous. And I think that if you do some of these things, just one of these things, you will start to bring, I guarantee you will start to bring that energy of joy into your life. And when you do that, from that joy, Spirit is born in you once again. God bless you all, and so it is. Amen.